What's going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. These are the Puma King Ultimate, the newest generation of Puma King that released way back in 1968, I believe. And this is a very exciting new addition to the Puma lineup, which right now is absolutely crushing it. I'm very excited to go over some tech features of this boot and really talk about what they've improved, what they've done differently, and of course, what the fit and sizing is like. So let's hop into the unboxing. We'll look at what this box looks like straight away. It is a very typical, the new kind of style for the Puma brand, which is this forever better. You can see this Puma logo here, which is the recycled materials situation with the Puma brand. What they've done with this Puma King actually is made this entire K Better upper, which we'll talk about in a sec. First of all, the name, which is a little bit ridiculous. This boot is in my usual size 9 US. This is a UK 8, a Euro 42, and 27 centimeters. On the back of the box, you've got this size conversion chart, which is pretty cool. Nothing on that side. And then responsible, looks good on you, puma.com forever/forever better. So that's kind of their current marketing right now, is really looking into building boots out of recycled materials, which I think is absolutely fantastic, so long as the performance of the boot and also the way it fits and feels stays relatively top end, which I think these are, because right now Zinchenko and Xhaka from Arsenal are both kind of endorsing this boot and playing with this boot. I'm really excited to see what they fit and feel like on feet, because it is going to be sort of an interesting boot, because I've heard it compared to some old boots and also some old tech. So let's get these unboxed. Unboxing the Puma King Ultimate. Ooh, interesting. Very cool. Okay. Oh, nice material straight away. Okay, so these are a really cool looking pair of football boots. They do definitely have a little bit of semblance to, they resemble a little bit the Puma King Platinum, which was that first generation of the all black kangaroo leather upper that Neymar wore for a little while. And the Puma King name didn't really have any sort of meaning to a lot of younger players in the current generation, just because it was worn by Pele and other really famous players way back in the day when it was made out of kangaroo leather upper, and it was a much more simple silhouette, simple football boot made of kangaroo leather. And it sort of went away for a really long time, or was only available in certain countries, and you would sort of have to really go out and look for them, and they weren't readily available. Then they brought it back with the Puma King Platinum, which this is sort of building on top of. The Puma King 21 or Platinum 21 or whatever it was a similar construction to this as far as the way the shape of the boot was, as far as width and kind of how it looks, but the materials they used were really poor. The fit was poor, and it was really not a boot that anyone enjoyed wearing. Right away, taking these out, this upper is super, super soft. So this, as I kind of alluded to before, this entire upper is made out of K Better. Yes, you heard that right, K Better, which is basically a synthetic material that, or a faux leather that they've put onto this upper that is supposed to be made with 20% recycled content. So doing good by the environment as well. And K Better is supposed to provide the same softness as traditional materials, and which means traditional leather, except it's 30% thinner, which actually I would argue is a pretty good summation. I mean, these are pretty spectacularly thin and soft straight out of the box. We'll see how that holds up as far as lateral stability and stuff, hopefully with this little these little ridges here for that classic Puma swoosh here. I know it's not a swoosh, but this little band should be kind of nice. And then you've got that knit material here through the lacing area as well. So this is supposed to give you this really close to the ball feel. It's really stretchy as well, supposedly, but it's not going to overstretch, which I think is the hope of most people when they get into a boot that's made of kind of this faux leather or fake leather. This heel area reminds me a lot of the new Copa Pure Point 1 with this sort of non-stitched knit material or non-stitched leather. It looks really similar to that in this seam right here that's just kind of been stitched together without any folding over the material. So we'll see how that holds up. And it's quite a little, the silhouette of this heel is kind of high. The external heel counter here provides hopefully a little bit of stability. We'll see in the on-feet portion if that actually ends up being the truth. and you get a nice internal heel counter as well. You can see can barely push until right about there. So that's where that heel counter comes up to on that heel area. Other than that, it's a pretty simple construction, I'd say. There's a really nice 1968 homage right here. So 1968 King, and that says King established in 1968. So a cool homage to the first Puma King. The insole on this one is their nano grip technology. So the nano grip technology is this awesome stuff. Mizuno does something similar to this as well. I can't remember what theirs is called, but it really provides a nice amount of grip for those who don't want to wear grip socks, which is awesome. And that gives you a nice amount of grip on the bottom of your foot. And then of course, with this suede liner, the hope is the combination of both of those is a bit of anti-slip on the inside of this football boot. Let's get the other one out and we'll talk a little bit more about other features. No string bag on this one, unfortunately, which is a bummer, but it's all good. So there's that Puma King Ultimate. So here we go. This is what the Puma King Ultimate looks like straight out of the box. They are honestly a really cool looking football boot. I saw them on feet on Zinchenko, I believe, was wearing them either a game or two ago from the time of this filming. I believe I saw him about a week ago wearing these, and they looked really nice on feet. I've seen women's players wear them as well. The other thing that's been really cool is that they've actually come out with a women's version of this boot, which looks the same. My guess is there's just slight changes to the shape of the boot. I don't actually know the tech differences. I don't think there's any tech differences because the price online seems to be the exact same. My guess is that it's just a different shape. And Puma's done a really good job, at least in the past year or so, with making women's boots of that top model as well, just to fit women's foot shapes more. I don't actually know what kind of if you put all the data of foot shapes from men and women together, what the differences are of that like average top of the bell curve type thing, if that makes sense. I'm not actually sure. This is the men's version for obvious reasons, but I am really happy to see that they're kind of serving both communities, which is awesome. So hopefully they get really good publicity on the women's side as well, because this boot actually is getting a lot of hype, and given this upper, seems pretty cool. So I'm really excited to try these on. One thing that I was thinking about when doing a little bit of research on this video, and also kind of thinking about the history of this kind of fake leather materials, we've seen a couple things. I know this boot has been compared a little bit to the Vapor 8 with that Tajin synthetic. The Vapor 8 I actually wore for a very brief moment the turquoise and orange colorway. You guys will see a photo up on screen of those, and I barely fit into those. I wore them for I think a single training session and then ended up selling them. This was back when those first came out, so this was back in high school, I believe. But those did not fit my foot very well, but they were such a cool football boot. And that upper, similar to this one, is really, really thin, provided this almost fake leather, but even thinner than fake leather type feeling, with a little bit of stretch, a little bit of stability. The only issue with those boots is I think they fell apart in the upper quite a bit, just because the upper wasn't as structured as it needed to be for the type of playing that most people were doing in those football boots. The other two that I kind of had in mind were, number one is the Adidas Hybrid Touch. Now, we've seen Hybrid Touch in several different football boots. A couple recent ones actually that I've reviewed, the the Adidas Predator Accuracy Point 1 and Plus models, all three models, so the Plus, the kind of mid-cut version, and the low top, all feature a complete Hybrid Touch upper. That Hybrid Touch, though, that technology is different from, at least in the amount of padding that's on it, to the Hybrid Touch version of the Audi 04 remake, which I wore last year in a bunch of my Flower City games, in my pro team games. That feels a lot like this, and that Hybrid Touch honestly feels the most similar to this one. If I maybe at some point in the on-feet portion of the video, I'll bring out those kind of checkered white and black ones and talk about the similarities, because this feels a ton like that football boot in the way that it feels and it looks like leather. The texture of this upper looks like leather. It has the softness of a leather, but it's much thinner. And my guess is it'll wick water pretty well as well, because those boots didn't get traditionally as wet as regular leather. The last technology that we've seen before this K Better material that obviously is made out of recycled materials, and I think the ones that I've already mentioned aren't really made of recycled materials, so to speak, at least not publicly advertised, is the Kangalite material from Nike. Now, Kangalite was a lot thicker. It was a lot more synthetic-y feeling than leather feeling, whereas this actually feels leathery. I've got a pair of Tiempo Legend 3 Elites in that beautiful maroon colorway with the carbon fiber sole plate. Those are Kangalite material. Same with the CTRs and stuff. I would argue this is actually relatively close to the CTRs. I think they just put padding on the underside of this boot, and so, or not this boot obviously, but the CTR. So this actually might be a very similar feel to, say, a CTR without the padding underneath or any of those like pods that they put underneath. So those are just a few of the technologies that I think are going to be very similar to this. I don't actually know if it's going to feel any similar because I haven't tried these boots on yet for obvious reasons. I'm filming this part first, and then I'll go on pitch and actually talk about what they feel like on feet. Sole plate is very, very standard, just conical studs. You've got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 studs, not that you guys couldn't count those on your own. All conical, so these will be definitely suitable for AG and FG surfaces. You've got this little stability kind of, what would you call this? Like I guess like a stability thing in the midfoot area that actually provides a decent amount of snapback. This is nothing special for a sole plate. I would say this is almost average or below average even for the snapback of a sole plate, especially of a top end boot that retails for $200. But I do actually really like this type of sole plate for boots that aren't supposed to be geared towards anything crazy. These are supposed to be, at least in my research, they're marketed as sort of a control boot in some senses. So you've got this texturing here on the midfoot and in that toe area on the medial side, and then on the lateral side a little bit here. But this texturing isn't enough to even say that it's going to have grip on it. I mean, it's raised off of the upper just a tiny bit, but it really won't make, I don't think, any difference as far as when you're actually playing in the boot. That being said, I am very, very excited to see what these feel like on feet. As most of you guys know, I am somebody who really likes new tech and new features on football boots, but the most important thing to me is how they fit and feel, and to really give you guys an idea about how they fit and feel over time. Do they break in well? And so my hope is that with a lot of these videos coming out with the boot reviews and stuff, that you guys watch the tech spec stuff if you're interested in that nerdy stuff, but really focus on the things that I say when doing the on-feet portion, because that stuff's really important, especially when I encourage everybody to buy boots that fit their foot the best, not which position they're marketed for. A goalkeeper can wear Vapors just as much as a striker can wear Vapors, and that's because if both people have feet that fit in Vapors perfectly, it makes way more sense to do that. So that's all I mean. Let's hop into the on-feet portion of the video to see how these fit and feel, because I'm really excited to see what K Better feels like. Horrifying name, by the way. There's definitely a, pun intended, better way to name this upper, because I do think it actually feels really nice in hand. And I think these are going to fit pretty well, and I'm super stoked. So let's hop into it. All right, then, here we are at the pitch with the Puma King Ultimate. I am super excited to see what this K Better feels like. As you can see, it's an absolutely glorious day, so hopefully these boots will look spectacular on feet, especially with a black tracksuit on as well. Super excited to try these on. So let's get into it straight away. What a beautiful looking football boot. Honestly, I think this is such a classic design. And with this new K Better, I think it'll be a really spectacular fit and feel. I'm hoping. That's at least the idea. So we'll get these unlaced quick, and we will put foot in and get after it. I am not wearing grip socks per usual for my review, just because I want to give it the most raw sensation possible with that try-on process. And then, of course, if you wanted any more grip elements or more performance out of your boots, you could always put grip socks in there as well. So that's kind of the idea behind doing it without grip socks. All right. Definitely a little bit sticky, but ooh, nice. Okay. Once I get your foot in, definitely a little bit tight here around this area here. But I'm going to lace these up just lightly, but straight away, they actually don't feel bad.
I think they feel pretty good out of the box. They're definitely a bit softer than, definitely softer than the King Platinum 21 or whatever that absolutely disgraceful boot was from Puma in 2021. These seem to fit pretty well. Toe comes right up to the end there, which is a good sign. And yeah, wow, those actually feel pretty good straight out of the box. There's a little bit of gap I can already see on the side of my ankle. Hopefully that breaks in as the boots continue to wear in. So that's something to think about. That's always something that I feel is a pet peeve of mine when I am wearing football boots, like right in this area here. That nano grip technology insole, holy moly, that is hard to get on. All right, try to finesse my way in here. Boom, there we go. All right, so there is that second one, and they are definitely pretty snug on my feet, no doubt about it, but they aren't like vapor thin. It doesn't feel like the upper is absolutely crushing my foot, or even Speed Portal 0.1, which in that midfoot area of the Speed Portal 0.1 is just honestly unbearable. So there's that sizing on that boot there. So really, really good actually from a sizing perspective. And as far as the fit and feel goes, throughout the whole instep, it feels really nice. Toe area feels really good. The toe area, as you can see where my toes are here, they are crunched up quite a bit on that front lateral side. But it's really not that bad. There's a good look at the boot as well. Hopefully the wind noise is not too bad. I apologize for that. It is a pretty windy and cold day. As you can see though, there is quite a bit of space right here in that area. That's something that really kind of annoys me about certain boots. All that means though is that the shape of the football boot just isn't right for my foot straight out of the box. That doesn't mean that I can't break a boot in, but that's usually an indicator of that the boot shape is just not really suited for my foot. Here you go, as a full kit. I think they look really nice on feet. They're definitely, for whatever reason, Puma recently with their heel liners, especially in the Puma Ultra Ultimate, has been, for whatever reason, it's just really, really blister prone, and these feel kind of similar to the Puma Ultra Ultimate, at least in the heel area. There's quite a bit of lockdown. The shoes actually feel really nice on feet. They are really tight though in that midfoot area, especially as you come right in here. That area right there is pretty tight on my foot. So if you're somebody with a pretty wide toe box area or midfoot, I don't know if these would be right for you, at least straight out of the box. They are crushing my feet just a little bit. It's not totally unbearable. It's something that I could probably get used to, but they are squeezing my feet quite a bit right now. And so that's something that, you know, you can just kind of think about if that's something you want to play through or whether that's something you're willing to kind of put up with. Lateral stability, as far as the Puma King goes, the Puma King Ultimate, pretty good. The sole plate, as I mentioned before, it's all conical studs, competes with something maybe like a 442. I know the 442 sole plate is a little bit less responsive, or at least feels definitely a little bit less responsive than this, and the 442 is $50 or $60 less expensive than this one, and you're getting premium kangaroo leather. So for me, if you're somebody who's like, I just want kangaroo leather, the 442 might be the way to go. Compared to these are definitely suited maybe a little bit towards thinner foot types. New Balance tends to be a little bit on the wider side, and you can also get a wide fit. I'm gonna go behind the camera actually really quick to grab a ball just so I can show you guys the touch on the ball. I've got these high-vis Nike Premier League balls, which I'm really excited about. So touch on the ball is pretty good, actually. It's a really thin upper, and so you get almost a barefoot-like sensation on feet, which is super, super cool. There's no distractions either, which is a really nice touch. And what that basically means is, even though there is, as you can see, the little bit of texturing here on the midfoot and in that passing zone, sort of in that instep, and a little bit here on that toe area here, there's really not that many distractions as far as touch on the ball goes. So you're really getting a kind of a one-to-one sensation with this K-Better material. It is very thin. It is very, I wouldn't call it very stretchy, although it maybe as it gets a little bit like warmer or sweaty or wet, it will stretch and kind of mold to your foot a little bit more. So I am curious to know if these boots will be a little bit better once broken in. I am really tempted to do a 1 month review on these, just because I think it's a really cool concept. And as brands start to move away from the K leather, it's important to know from a consumer's perspective whether or not this synthetic material actually works and is what it says it does. It's supposed to act like kangaroo leather or K leather. It's supposed to perform like that without overstretching and water wicking and all that stuff. And I do want to make sure that that is the case for these, so that I can either give a positive or a negative recommendation. So there is those boots again. They do look really nice on feet. I saw them, as I said in the unboxing portion of the video, on Zinchenko and on Xhaka, I think is how you pronounce his name, the Swiss captain. The sole plate looks really nice. The sole plate's very neutral. I'm sure you could get a soft ground version of these if you were to look hard enough. I don't know if I've seen any online yet, but surely on ProDirect or something. ProDirect usually carries soft ground boots as well. So that's something to consider. But overall, definitely a tighter fitting football boot. So if you're somebody with really wide feet, I don't think I'd recommend these boots, just because they fit a little bit of a thinner silhouette. I think if you were a Puma advocate, that's not the right word. If you're somebody who really likes the Puma brand, I would probably go for something more like an Ultra. Honestly, the Ultra might be even a little bit wider than this, although this one's definitely going to break in wider. So the Ultra is the thinnest out of their lineup right now. The King is probably right in the middle, and then the Future Ultimate is definitely the widest out of those, and they fit about a quarter size long, so they're definitely there's a lot more volume in that boot anyway. So that's kind of my recommendation, but so far so good. They are breaking in. Even as I'm standing here, they are softening up just a little bit. You can kind of see on my toes, I'm wiggling my toes a little bit, and they're thin enough where you can see each individual kind of toe bump here on the outside, which is a little bit uncomfortable, I gotta admit, and I'm sure that would become a hot spot if I was to actually play in them. I'd probably get blisters like on the knuckles of my feet. But overall, honestly, I think these are nice football boots. It's for the $200 price point, there are probably other things that I would get instead of this. For my foot, I'm choosing Future Ultimate in the Puma lineup. That just fits my foot the best straight out of the box. Almost zero break-in time for me. I think that 1 month review will come out after this review drops, so just know that boot is probably going to be my go-to Puma boot if I'm going to wear a Puma boot for training or in games. But overall, these are nice. Well done. They're definitely a step up from the Puma King Platinum 21. Definitely a step up from the Puma King Platinum 21. I think if I were to pick between these and the Puma King Platinum, the original ones that Neymar had, I think I would probably pick... I think I'd probably pick those, honestly, just because they are kangaroo leather. I haven't had, obviously this is the most time I've had, less than 10 minutes with these, and I had even less time in the Puma King Platinum. I just think the look of those is really sweet. These are very similar looking with that knit material in the midfoot as well, in that lacing system. But overall, I think for me, that might be like a nice plush feel, although this is really thin. So I guess I haven't really made up my mind. But long story short, if you have thinner feet, these are definitely suitable for you. If you have a lot wider foot, I probably wouldn't recommend these. I'd probably go with a Future or something different, maybe from the New Balance brand. But overall, nice job by Puma. I think these are a decent pair of football boots, and I don't think most people are going to have issues with blistering or anything, potentially in that heel area, but as far as I can tell from wearing them just here, on the pitch, no issues so far. So hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As always, be awesome, take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.